Welcome everybody to this episode of Whether or Not. We're back from spring break and we have a jam-packed episode for you this time around. First, we're going to talk about Australia's lakes and renewable energy sources in nature in the news. Then Brian has a forecast for us on our weekend ahead. And finally, it'll wrap up with Allie's feature on tornado safety. All that and much, much more coming up. Whether or Not starts right now. Welcome everybody to this episode of Whether or Not. I'm your host, Drew Narsutis.
And I'm your forecaster, Brian Cizek.
Well, Brian, we sure were hit with one heck of a snowstorm earlier this week. Lots of that fluffy white stuff was dropped right down on our doorstep.
It really was, Drew. We had a nor'easter making its way up the eastern seaboard, hammered much of the northeastern United States. Here in State College, though, we received 10.1 inches was the official measurement here at the Walker Building at Penn State. But if you were to travel a little bit east, you would see well over a foot of snow. Travel a little bit west, see significantly less.
Wow, that is quite a stark contrast here, just situated in our Commonwealth.
Yes, and if you were to go up to New York, actually the highest recorded snow total I saw in Cooperstown, they saw 48 inches of snow. That's 4 feet.
Holy cow, that is quite a lot of snow. Imagine having to shovel all of that.
Would not be fun.
No, not at all. As well, is there any more white stuff coming our way in the next weekend, or are we all out of the clear?
Well, we have a disturbance coming through early this weekend, and I'll have some details on that coming up in my forecast.
All right, sounds like something to look forward to. Anyway, another thing to look forward to we go to now is called Nature in the News. Tropical cyclone Anawo made landfall over Madagascar late on Tuesday morning local time as an intense tropical cyclone. Anawo packed winds over 140 miles per hour, which is equal to that of a Category 4 hurricane in the Atlantic or Eastern Pacific Oceans. The cyclone is the strongest to hit Madagascar in 13 years. At least 5 people have been killed and 7 injured, and about 22,000 have either been left homeless or suffered major property damage, according to local emergency crews. The injuries and deaths have resulted from strong winds, floods, and landslides. The cyclone also destroyed roads and cut off communications to the Antilaha district, which is home to 230,000 people in northeastern Madagascar. But it is not just the towns that are taking a beating. A total of 70% of the vanilla beans in the district of Antilaha have also been destroyed. This will result in a loss of harvest in June on the fields in the cyclone's pathway. Madagascar supplies the majority of the world's vanilla beans, so this could be a big disruption to Madagascar's economy.
You may remember Malaysia Airlines Flight 370, the flight that vanished with 239 passengers in early 2014 as it crossed the Indian Ocean. Even though it was a terrible tragedy, some good has come from it. Through the search process, scientists have gained access to more than 100,000 square miles of seafloor, and it is mapped at a level of detail that provides a rare glimpse at the ocean's geological processes. Previously, researchers used satellite data that had much lower resolution, leaving small-scale features undetectable. But using instruments on the search ships, scientists have now created elaborate 3D maps of the ocean floor that reveal its complexity and allow researchers to further investigate unique features. The team plans to release a more detailed look into the findings later this year.
Renewable energy is now Australia's cheapest energy option, even when the cost of storage to make the power source reliable is added. Traditionally, gas power has been Australia's cheapest source of reliable power. However, with gas prices rising and the cost of storage technologies falling, the true cost of renewable energy generation plus storage is now cheaper. This means new renewable energy with storage, whether batteries or pumped into hydro or something else, would be able to provide reliable, cheap energy even if there's no wind or sunshine. At the same time, the contending alternative, the so-called clean coal, which uses carbon capture and storage technology during coal burning, will not be commercially viable until 2030 at the earliest. The analysis finds that costs for carbon capture and storage could drop to about $100 a megawatt hour by 2030, making a large-scale project feasible if there's any appetite for building necessary generators. However, these generators are likely too inflexible to compete with future electric systems because they can't ramp up and down easily. This is not good news for the coal generation, irrespective of how clean it is.
Last week in Australia, a lake turned pink in the heart of Melbourne. Although this seems like something out of a science fiction movie, it is actually a natural phenomenon that occurs all over the planet. Scientists say this occurs when the weather gets very warm and dry. As water evaporates from the saltwater lake, the salinity increases to almost 10 times that of the ocean, where only a few organisms can survive. In this particular lake, the only living creature is a single-celled algae, which starts producing pink pigments called carotenoids when the salt concentration gets very high. To the disappointment of many, the lake is expected to return to its normal color when the weather cools down and the rains return for Australia's winter, which starts in June. Hello, I am Brian Cizek with your Central Pennsylvania forecast. Now that nor'easter that brought us about 10 inches of snow here in State College and hammered much of the Northeast is long gone, but we are not done quite yet with that winter weather. Now let's jump right into the maps for your Friday. We'll see this high pressure located just over the Carolinas will really dominate our weather for our Friday. And we'll have a mix of clouds and sun and really won't have to deal with those strong winds like we did earlier in the week. But you'll also notice this storm where the center of it is located right at the Minnesota and Canada border, and that will bring some snow, some mixed precipitation, and some rain to the Midwest, and that will be coming our way as we head into Saturday. We can see that low moves closer to us just to our northwest, and we'll see some snow, some mixed precipitation, and some rain in our area. And we could really see all three of those types of precipitation on Saturday. I'll get a little more into the details later in the broadcast, but as we move into Sunday, we'll see that low moves off the coast, and we'll see this high pressure just starting to move into the region. But as the wind circulates counterclockwise around that low, it'll bring some breezy conditions to our area on Sunday, and we'll see mostly cloudy conditions as clouds decrease throughout the day as that low starts to move off. And I think the sun might be able to poke its head out later in the day. Now, why don't we jump right into the specifics for your Friday, 38 degrees. Increasing clouds throughout the day, though, as that low starts to approach us. Friday night, 31, dropping just below the freezing point, and that's why I think we're going to see some snow, although it might start off as rain and then move over to a mix and eventually to snow. And then for Saturday, starting off as snow in the morning, but we see it gets up to 42 degrees. So that will lead to some rain later in the day as that storm moves out. But I can't rule out a few inches of accumulation before that snow changes over to rain. And for your Sunday, as that low moves off the coast, high of 42 degrees under mostly cloudy skies, decreasing clouds throughout the day, and breezy conditions. Now let's head out to Allie, who has a feature on tornadoes.
Tornadoes are violent rotating columns of air that extend from a thunderstorm to the ground. The most dangerous of them all are capable of serious destruction. These tornadoes have wind speeds up to 300 miles per hour and can take down buildings, uproot trees, and throw vehicles hundreds of yards away. Dr. Yvette Richardson, the Associate Dean of Undergraduate Education of the College of Earth and Mineral Sciences at Penn State, explains the formation of a vortex.
You need an updraft, so air that's moving upward, and when you have that, it's generally moving inward underneath it. And so then the way that you get things to spin up into a strong vortex is to have this contraction of some angular momentum, and the sources of the angular momentum vary by what type of phenomena you're looking at. So if you can then initiate convection, which is really just where you have air that's accelerating upward, forming clouds, then again you can pull it in underneath.
Dr. Richardson refers to angular momentum playing a big part in the formation of the tornado. Angular momentum is the quantity of rotation of a body, which is the product of the body's moment of inertia and its angular velocity. This essentially is what gives the tornado the ability to create such a fast-spinning rotation. It is crucial that when these tornadoes hit within your area to have a safety plan that you and your family can follow. UCAR, or the University Corporation for Atmospheric Research, provides an informational website that shows several survival techniques in the event that there is a tornado. If you're at home and a tornado occurs, go to a windowless interior room on the lowest level of your house. Places could include a storm cellar or a basement. If your home does not have an underground level, go to an inner hallway or a smaller inner room without windows. This could be a bathroom or a closet. Place you and your family in the center of the room you choose and get under a piece of sturdy furniture that you can hide under and hold on to. This could be a workbench, desk, or a heavy table. If you happen to be outdoors during a tornado, seek shelter immediately. If a building is not available for refuge, lie in a ditch or low-lying area. You could also crouch behind a building for protection. UCAR provides several different scenarios for tornado safety guidelines at eo.ucar.edu. Be sure to prepare a plan that is suitable for you and your family's needs. For Whether or Not, I'm Allie Debicki.
Hello, I am back for your extended forecast, but first let's get into the weekend recap. 38 degrees for Friday, but increasing clouds throughout the day as that storm system approaches our region. And Friday night into Saturday morning, we're going to see some rain, some wintry mix, some snow, and then Saturday morning turning into rain as the day heats up. Maybe a few inches of accumulation before it's all said and done. And then Sunday, as that storm moves off the coast, we're in for a mostly cloudy day, maybe the sun peeking its head out later in the afternoon. And breezy at that, 42 degrees as your high, but then dropping down to a very cold 15 degrees overnight. And without further ado, let's get into the extended forecast. And you'll notice that the temperatures really don't get above the average for this time of year, which is about in the upper 40s for mid to late March, until about Friday when temperatures just cross that average line, but remaining mostly dry throughout the week, maybe a sprinkle for your Friday, but really a calm and stable pattern for next week.
Well, thank you, Brian, for that forecast. Unfortunately, it doesn't look like we're out of the woods yet as far as winter weather goes, but hopefully with March progressing, spring will soon be on its way.
Yes, Drew, we will most likely see some wintry precipitation Friday night into Saturday, but don't you worry. If you are ready for spring, it won't be anything like the storm we saw earlier in the week.
Well, that's good. And speaking of the storm we had earlier in the week, we will go to our Weather Whiz quiz question, in which we asked which city in Pennsylvania had the highest snowfall total from Winter Storm Stella. Is it A, State College, B, Harrisburg, C, Oakland, or D, Scranton? Well, if you guessed C, you are correct. Oakland, which is located in the Susquehanna County, received 34.5 inches of snow as Stella ripped through the northeast and caused several flight cancellations and school cancellations along the way on Tuesday.
Yes, and Susquehanna County is located in the northeastern part of the state, and that's really the portion of Pennsylvania that was really the bullseye for the highest snowfall amounts.
There you go. Well, unfortunately, that's all the time we have in this show. I am your host, Drew Narsutis.
And I'm your forecaster, Brian Cizek.
Have a wonderful weekend, everybody.